What's up guys, Derek, moreplates.com. Today we're going to be talking about why going to the movies is a terrible first date and just terrible first dates in general. So this is a huge mistake I am going to save you guys from making, and makes you look like you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Essentially is like when you are in your late teens, early 20s, you have a lot of delusions about what the ideal, blueprint is for the best date. You're just starting to date, maybe if you're just getting into this stuff, cold approaching, online dating, whatever it is. And when you're trying to figure out, what am I gonna do? Like, where do I take the chick? What do I do? How do I communicate with her? What do I say? What do I do? You have to remember too, the situation I was in when I started was I was severely underachieving in high school. So I basically went out of my way to overcompensate by becoming like a fucking PUA, where I would go hard as fuck, and I did like dozens of approaches a week, to the point where I was going on a date almost every other day pretty much. And if I wasn't on a date, I was either at the gym fucking cranking my mind out, or I was approaching, or I was downtown going to clubs and shit and trying to approach there and trying to pick chicks up. And that was like my life for like a few years, to be honest. And glad it's, sort of behind me now. But I mean, at the time when I was first starting to like get a lot of numbers and setting up dates and whatnot, one of the things I was like, fuck, well, what do I do now? I have some numbers, I can go on some dates. Like, where do I take them? What do I do? And my fucking stupid logic at the time was find out like the best way to not have to talk to them on the date, which isn't a terrible strategy actually. If you're like getting a drink, encouraging them to talk more is a good strategy. But my thing was like, I don't want to communicate at all. I just want to like get through the date with the most minimal effort in terms of actual like sharpening my verbal skills, conversation skills, and basically just try and expedite my way to getting from meeting the chick to being in a fucking sexual relationship and having them in my rotation with barely having to speak. And because it was just like insecurity, because you barely could have, when you first start, you can barely string a fucking coherent sentence together, and by the time you're getting some numbers, it's like how far you've essentially developed your conversation skills hasn't really passed like the 5-minute mark, because you're just approaching so many people. You're kind of good at introducing yourself. You're good at talking about a few random things. Oh, what are you up to? Oh, I'm fucking doing this. Oh, you're at the fucking mall too? I'm shopping for this, blah, 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 Oh, you go to this school? I also go here, or I go here, and this is what my degree is. Like, what the fuck are you doing? It's like, you start to get to a point where when you're actually really nervous and you start to run out of topics quick, because you get in your head and you kind of just, you don't treat it like you're talking to a friend, you treat it like some sort of business interview, and you kind of like shoot yourself in the foot and fuck yourself because you think you've like run out of interview questions essentially. And when you have that mindset, you actually like blank after 5 minutes of talking. So in your head, trying to conceive and wrap your head around talking to a chick with like smooth conversation for an hour on like your first date is a bit overwhelming when you have like no experience. So I used to go to the movies, and I'd be like, let's go to a movie, let's go see a movie. Sometimes I'd end up seeing the same fucking movie twice, just because I had watched all the fucking movies. Not only was this a huge waste of money, because movies are expensive, especially when you're like 18, 19 years old. The first reason why I wouldn't recommend it at all, and the only reason I kept doing this for like probably 6 to 8 months pretty consistently, I kept fucking doing this and wasting so much money and so much time, is because it worked like several times, and I'd get some like pretty solid chicks through it. But the problem was I wasn't developing my communication skills at all. So I would go from like approaching them cold, talking to them for 5 minutes, going to pick them up for the first date, talking to them for 5 minutes on the way to the theater, sitting through a full like hour and a half movie without having to like talk at all. And I would just like let my why can I never remember this word? Like physical fucking body language. I don't know why I can never remember that. Speak for, my skills. I would just like use fucking escalation during the movie, and then I would like work up their comfort through like physical escalation with like barely having to talk. And then by the time the second date comes around, it's like you're coming to my place and you know we're just sitting down watching Netflix or whatever, and it's kind of already implied what's gonna happen. So like I was literally like skipping a fucking crucial part of like developing my game by going to these movies, and that is the first reason why you shouldn't go. Way too expensive if you're first getting into this and you're young. You don't develop your social skills at all, so you're kind of just like, you're not gonna get as many people through the pipeline. A lot of chicks are going to screen you out because they don't feel comfortable with you, because you basically exhibited that you have poor social skills by even doing this and suggesting this fucking date to begin with and bringing her there. Like, sure, you're gonna get some decent chicks through it and they're gonna show up because they're attracted to you and they don't really give a fuck and they're nervous too and can barely talk themselves. But you are going to be way more successful by not doing this at all. Don't go to a fucking movie. Don't put yourself in that position where you're like literally sitting there in a chair where you're like supposed to be quiet, and then you're like super in your head trying to figure out how you're going to somehow pull off kissing her at the end of the date, or if you're ballsy enough to go for a same day, date one lay, when you haven't even talked to her for more than like 7 minutes in totality from fucking getting her number to getting her like in the movie theater. Like, it's just very difficult as a newbie to go about it that way. In my opinion, the fastest way to develop and the best thing you should be doing is find a nice bar, not even just like like a lounge, almost like, I'm trying to think of a place that would be everyone would know, because I don't know if like restaurants around me or even in the States, to be honest, with a good lounge kind of thing where you can get one drink. That is the ideal first date, is getting one drink. Unfortunately, I just realizing now, the legal age in the States is 21. Now that I'm thinking about it, the legal age in Canada is 19 for drinking. So it's almost like irrelevant that you can't get a drink until 21. I'm just realizing that now. Either way, you should still be going to the same lounge. It's a restaurant, you're allowed to be in there. If you can order a drink and she's 20 and you're 21, don't get a drink then. Get, something else. But you do it basically just like one small thing that's not food. Ideally, you get some sort of drink. I don't even give a fuck if it's tea, dude. Like, if you're 18, like, get a bubble tea, dude. Like, who cares? Like, you just need to be in a situation where it's chill and it's casual, and ideally you want to come across as, you have to sharpen your social skills through something that is a one-on-one environment, and you aren't coming across as, like a cheap fuck by bringing her to like some dive bar, but you're bringing her to somewhere that's like a decent lounge. All you have to do is pay like a few bucks for a fucking drink, and then you sit there and you talk for an hour, and that's your first date. And that would be like setting the stage for your second date, where you're gonna take things to the next step. And that's kind of like the process. That's the blueprint. You find somewhere within logistically 5 minutes of your house, ideally, and that's your fucking spot. Like, you make that your fucking spot, and you treat the people who work there very well, because you're gonna be there a lot. And yeah, that's the blueprint. Let's just assume, unfortunately, you guys who are like 17 to 20 are just not gonna be involved in this for a second here. 21 plus, find a good lounge / restaurant bar within 5 minutes of your place. Logistically, this should be, the location actually makes a big difference too, which I'll probably get into in other videos. But the blueprint is basically, you go to this fucking place, you chat for an hour. The rate at which your social skills will sharpen by going on this one-on-one where you're forced to talk, you're gonna suck ass for like your first however many dates you go on. But this is throwing yourself into the fire is the only way you develop. And guys who are going to fucking movies and putting themselves in positions where they don't have to talk, those are the guys who stay timid, stay shitty, stay bad at game for a long time. And like, all game really is at the end of the day is being good at recognizing social cues, not being a pussy about physically escalating, and talking smoothly, being able to have a conversation out of thin air. Like, guys who run out of topics because, their interview stack of questions is like done. Those are the guys that get screened out, and like, girls can see through this, very easily. It's very transparent when a guy's in interview mode versus a guy who can just sit there and like flow with a conversation. So my number one advice, one drink to each of you, decent bar, decent lounge. You sit there for an hour, you have a drink, you talk for an hour. You let her do a lot of the talking. You don't want to, come across as, the less talking you have to do, frankly, the better. And the more you get to know her and the more kind of intel you get and the easier it is to, smoothly go through topics. All you have to do is fucking sit there and be a good listener. And then that's how you have responses ready to go, that you flow into your own conversations. The way you come off as an interviewer is where you're constantly proactively thinking of the fucking next question and then firing shit at her, rather than just taking what she says and letting it flow in the conversation back and forth, where it's a continuous give and take, rather than you just giving and giving and giving and fucking hammering her with questions that just come across as am I here for a job or am I here to fucking, chill and have a conversation? So get the fucking drink, don't go to movies, put yourself in position where you can actually develop your skills. And also she's going to respect you a lot more for bringing her to get a drink, rather than going to a movie where you sit there awkwardly and don't talk for an hour and a half when you've never even met each other. And then you're somehow expecting her to sleep with you when you're some weird pussy guy who just sat in a movie theater for an hour and a half, and then you're trying to bring her back to your place or something. It's just not going to work. So I could have expedited my progress way faster if I just, started doing this earlier. And I guess for me it's a bit different because at 19 I could still go to a lounge and have a drink or whatever, but you can still make the same thing work. It's not like you have to have alcohol to do this to make it work. It's just go to a place nice, you get one drink, even if it's non-alcoholic, just to fucking have something to sip on and sit there in a good environment that's not dumpy and is not awkward and weird, that's all it comes down to, dude. You have to be able to show your fucking social skills and be able to make her feel comfortable with you in order to progress things. And if you don't, you just come across as this insecure fucking frozen guy who could not get past, the first 5 minutes of interview questions that you got her number with. It's not going to go farther than that. So it's better that you get this shit figured out. It's almost like screening yourself out. You know what I mean? It sounds bad, but I mean, you're not going to get far if you get through a movie and then she just you get a fucking goodnight kiss, or you get her to come to your house. She's not gonna be super comfortable with you if you don't at least give some sort of indication that you're a high quality guy who can handle a fucking English conversation. So just keep that in mind and avoid the movies, dude. That's what I recommend. Obviously there's a lot of things you can do too. It's not just a drink. You can go fucking do stuff for free, there's go for a walk, do this, do that, go do whatever. Fucking do a picnic. I don't care. That doesn't matter. But it's there's ways to do it that just don't do something stupid, go to a concert where you just stand there and you can't even talk to her, and it's just so loud and you're standing there just not getting comfortable with each other. You're just awkwardly standing beside each other or sitting in a quiet theater for an hour and a half straight, and then that's the end of the date. It's just a ridiculous thing. And a lot of guys still do this. They're they'll spend $40 for a fucking movie night and then get nowhere, when they could have spent literally $10 to get one drink and got 10 times the progress done, develop their social skills, prove to this chick that they're actually high value, gotten a million times farther with her, and it's just a fucking no-brainer in my opinion. So don't be an idiot. Progress your social skills. Throw yourself into the double Dutch jump rope. Get slapped in the face a few times. Throw yourself into the fire. Get burned. That's the only way you're going to develop. So take from that what you will. Thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe. Check out my blog, moreplatesmoredates.com. Follow me on Instagram at moreplates_moredates, Facebook, Snapchat, BitChute, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts. If you want to support the channel, you can check out anything I'm associated with in the video description below. My TRT clinic, if you want to seek out hormone optimization, testosterone replacement therapy, we offer it all pharma grade through our doctors, and it's all telemedicine through the comfort of your own home. All your meds get shipped right to your door. You can save $50 off your first treatment with MPMD 50. As far as Gorilla Mode, Gorilla Mind, my nootropics and pre-workout formulas, you can check out the nootropics. It's what I use to stay locked in for more productive hours out of the day. It's creative, focus. It's kind of if you've never seen nootropics, they're kind of just cognitive enhancing supplements. Think of not Limitless, Bradley Cooper, NZT 48, but it's kind of what that is supposed to be. The real life version though is you get a bit more productive hours out of each day, a bit more creativity, a bit more focus. And honestly, that's, I use them to stay locked in for more hours per day pretty much. And pre-workout, self-explanatory, but those are just compare the label of your current pre. Literally go pull it out of your cupboard right now. look at the label, and then look at Gorilla Mode, Classic, compare the dosages, L-citrulline, not artificially inflated with malic acid, compare the stimulant component, compare the glycerol component, compare anything you want. The NO precursors, the hyperhydrating agents, the plasma expanders, the cognitive enhancing component, it's all maxed out. The stimulant-free pre-workout, Gorilla Mode Nitric, even more maxed out in the performance context. No stimulants in it though, so you can use it at nighttime, but the NO precursors are all there at the totally maxed out limit. It's like literally to the point where 1 more gram would not yield any additional benefit. It's not just the max efficacious dose, or I should say the minimum efficacious dose in a clinical study that proved that it works. It's literally the max efficacious dose where above and beyond that, you're getting like no additional benefit. So it's maxed out in that regard and in every regard, to be honest, from all perspectives of a stimulant-free formula. And then the stim-only product, Gorilla Mode Stim, is essentially the stimulant cognitive component from Gorilla Mode Classic, pulled out and made into its own turnkey formula, even more enhanced in the cognitive enhancing component with a bit more higher dosages of N-phenethyl dimethylamine citrate, caffeine, double the dose of Kana, etc. And this is basically just for guys who are stim junkies or guys who don't want to, they want a more cost-effective pre-workout and just want the mental boost, as opposed to, you know, the citrulline, the creatine, the glycer pump, all the other stuff that comes with the other formulas. This would be the product for you at a more cost-effective price point. So check those out if you're interested. Anything else I'm associated with, video description below. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.